thought I would start with this photo that I took. It's actually the American Stock Exchange, but I thought it looked like a courthouse. And I thought it was so beautiful, and I thought it really symbolized the American justice system that we're going to be talking about today. Before we get going, I just want to say first and foremost that I believe all my students are going to uphold fair housing. In my years of teaching, I've had wonderful students of every type, and they care about fair housing. The purpose of this chapter is to clarify the law and enable you to practice your beliefs in equality. Let's start by looking at some real unfair housing. These are actual ads that appeared online in the early 2000s before word filters were put in place. I collected these ads and I'm very proud of them because I gotta tell you something, these ads have been eradicated from the internet and can't be found anymore. And they are so discriminatory as to be almost ridiculously funny. The first one says, "House in Skokie, African Americans and Arabians tend to clash with me, so that won't work out either." The next one, "She wants a strong, godly Christian male to share exquisite 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment." Isn't that great? And the requirements, clean, godly Christian male. But the last guy is my favorite one. "Ladies, please rent from me. Gas and electric bills are included. I prefer young college students or single females." Do you think anybody would respond to that? But these are actual ads that appeared. Now, this became so pernicious that a lot of people started pressuring the online companies to start putting restrictions on the type of ads that could be placed. And so you really don't find this kind of thing anymore. The first thing that Department of State wants us to discuss is fair housing pressure from society. Department of State points out that we, as real estate licensees, may experience prejudice from many sources in society. For example, we may experience these negative situations. Landlords and sellers may request specific types of people to be shown their dwellings. Neighbors may have unpleasant thoughts, words, or actions. Buyers and renters may make statements about certain parts of the community, ask pointed, unfair questions about the community, or refuse to be shown property if certain people live in that part of a community. And Department of State reminds us it is always our responsibility to uphold fairness and impartiality and never participate in nor tolerate housing discrimination. Brokers have a legal responsibility to maintain fair housing practices in their offices. They do this by hanging the fair housing poster, which you can see behind our happy broker lady here, mentioning fair housing in ads, giving ongoing education of their staff and agents, reporting fair housing misconduct to the proper authorities, and requiring fastidious record keeping. Here's more information on that particular poster that I referred to a moment ago. Brokers are required to hang the HUD fair housing poster in their office. And here is exactly what it looks like and what it says. When U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, better known as HUD, investigates a brokerage, not displaying the poster is considered evidence of discrimination. Here is one of my favorite HUD posters. I think it's really cute and witty. Let's be clear about how the law applies. Federal Fair Housing Act does not require the Equal Opportunity logo or the words Equal Housing Opportunity in any ad. But National Association of Realtors, which is a huge trade association in our industry, advises that, and I'm quoting them here, using the logo regularly is good evidence of a company's commitment to fair housing compliance, unquote. Federal Housing and Urban Development Agency guidelines say that all advertising of residential real estate for sale or rent should contain an equal housing opportunity logo, statement, or slogan to educate the public that the property is available to all persons. We've discussed the broker's responsibility for fair housing. Now let's look at the salesperson's responsibility. The first is to know fair housing laws. Second, attend fair housing training seminars. Third, follow the law, of course. Fourth, know fair housing referral resources. and of course, learn excellent record-keeping skills. As an aside, you probably know that you are required to attend fair housing classes every 2 years when you renew your real estate license. But Department of State requires brokers to hold in-house training on fair housing every year. So when we say attend fair housing training seminars, we are including the ones that are given in your brokerage office. What do they mean when they say no fair housing referral resources? Well, it means to know where to go to report violations. So to make your life easy, I have given you a list of where to go to report violations. Now, if someone violates federal law, you go to Department of Housing and Urban Development. I have a typo here. I called it the Development Agency, and I'm sorry. It is the Department of Housing and Urban Development, which everybody knows as HUD, or the U.S. Attorney General. If it's a violation of New York State law, you can't appeal to the federal government. So if it's a violation of New York State law, you go to New York State Human Rights Division, sometimes called Division of Human Rights. If it's a violation of local law where you are, in other words, the county, city, or town authority, then of course you go to them. For example, in New York City, it happens to be the Commission on Human Rights. If it's a violation of license law, in other words, someone who is a salesperson or broker has violated the law, then they can be reported directly to Department of State, Division of Licensing Services. What do we mean by record keeping? Record keeping is important to avoid even the appearance of fair housing misconduct. And one very effective way you can do this is by having home seekers fill out a form telling where they want to live, where they work, how much they can afford, and you will show them property based upon their practical concerns.